Hey Don, uh, I'll start and keep the focus on what you did today. What you guys did today. Last year you left Vegas with a lot of very tall basketball-esque defensemen who can skate, and it feels like you added a lot more of those even this year. Is that kind of I don't want to say a trend, but is it just kind of where the cards fell, or are you guys kind of looking, to really bolster that back end in the net?
No, honestly, our list we drafted right identically how our list was laid out. The three first guys that we took were all in our top 14 on our list. So we certainly, just because it was a defenseman at the third pick, we weren't going to bypass it because of that, because we had him rated so high. So and then after that, we took a couple of centers, I know, and another D, but we're still with our prospects. We're not overloaded at any position. We need every position. So, we always say, let's draft the best player available and then work with them to make them an NHL player.
Yeah. All right. That's what I got for now.
Okay.
Next, we'll go to Aaron Portzline. Go ahead, Porty.
Yes, sir. Uh, thanks for doing this, Don. Did I just hear you correctly that the three guys you took, including the guy you took in the 70s, were in your top 14 overall? Is that right?
Correct. That is correct.
Wow. Is that unusual to find guys in your that high on your board still hanging around? And
Yeah, I can say probably it's never happened in my history now. It's our board, so we'll see in a few years if we're right or not. But our guys put a lot of work into it. And we had we have mid-season meetings, we had end of year meetings, we had meetings this week, and the list was unanimous. So when we got to that point of who's going to be on our list, so when you're sitting there at 76, I believe we drafted, and you're able to get a guy that's still on your top 15 list, there's only one decision to be made, and that's to pick his name.
so you would have taken Malte Voss at where were you at 20?
Yeah, if we would have had that pick, unless there was somebody else still in front,
Sure.
depending on how the draft went. But yes,
Yeah.
we had him very high.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Next, we'll go to Mark Shag. Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks. Hey, Don, just on Owen Griffin, somebody that you probably would know with Luca Morelli there as well, but just how much of looking at him was his postseason? How much does that factor into where you slot a player on your list?
Well, you always want to see how players respond under pressure, and postseason. I don't care what level you're playing at; it's always harder to play in the postseason because everybody puts everything on the line. So that helped this cause, and our Ontario scout Danny Flynn. I went to a couple games with him there, and he watched them all season long. So with the discussion, and Billy and Trevor and some of the crossover guys had seen him, so everybody felt comfortable again when we were picking. He was the next guy up, and we always talk about it. Just because it's on a list that way, sometimes you go off if you want to maybe go for a tough guy or a goalie or something like that. And when it was our pick and his name was there, it was again unanimous that we pick that player.
Thanks, Don.
Anyone else have a question for Don? Go back to Hedge. Go ahead, Brian.
Just kind of wondering, we talked initially yesterday about the draft format and how, yeah, obviously you would prefer it to go back the other way, it sounds like. Did this one, I mean, day two kind of dragged on there. Did it remind you of 2020 a little bit, when it was
Yeah.
all remote? Yeah, because that one seemed to drag on as well, right?
Yeah, two things I can say about this draft. One is yes, the second round seemed like it took forever, and then third round got faster, and then it got faster as we went on. So that was certainly something that I'm glad it picked up some speed, because we were at a pace at one time when we started at 12:15 with the first pick to be running at 6:30 at night. The second thing, of course, is I miss you guys being in front of me, and I have to look into a camera to see you guys.
There you go. Likewise. I was going to follow up. You made two trades today to move up. I mean, I'm sure that's related to kind of what you were just saying, where guys were ranked on your list, and it was like, I mean, did you was it just kind of a matter of like, hey, let's get this guy. He's still there right now.
Yeah, again, I go back if we really want a player, you do what you can. Obviously, there's limits because you're not going to trade up in the top. Sure, we'd like to have the top 4 or 5 guys in the draft, but that wasn't going to happen. But so when you start looking at your list and like in Boss's case where he starts to fall some on everybody else's list, you start saying, okay, I start looking at what teams I feel like you can make a deal with, and you start down that road. And we were fortunate enough to make a deal, and with Detroit, I believe it was, to take that player. But it goes back to the goalie, and I know I read a lot of stuff or heard a lot of stuff, about what we took a goalie early, but when we wanted to take a goalie, we felt he was the best goalie. And remember, as we were going in, we had the 14th to 20th pick. If we don't take him at 20, our next pick is, the 4th round. He wasn't going to be there. So we just felt, instead of taking that chance, yeah, maybe I could have moved back a few spots and picked up a 3rd or 4th round. But the worst case is I do that and then somebody takes him in front of me, and then you're saying, what kind of strategy was that? So I'm a huge believer of that. If you really like a guy and it's your numbers up, just take that player.
Yeah.
Next, we'll go to Mark Scheig. Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks, Todd. Don, just between all the picks, how active was your phone? Was there a lot of managers trying to call you to do stuff?
Yeah, it was mostly picks for picks, so there wasn't a whole lot of players being shopped today. That's for sure. Again, probably the decentralized drafts where you're not in person. There's a few trades, hockey trades made, but I think they've been brewing for a while. But it was mostly a lot of pick swapping that was put out there to move up or move back. And especially as we got later in the day in the 5th round, 6th round, there's a lot more of that going on. People are trying to shift into next year's draft that had multiple picks. And that's why even in the 7th round, we really wanted the one guy that we took. And we had those 2 7th round picks. So we said, instead of trying to wait and take 2 guys that we necessarily are in love with, let's move up and take the player that we really believe in.
Well, I got one more for you. Just now that the draft is over with, just how much of an appetite do you still have to want to try to improve your current blue line?
Well, I don't think that's changed. It's been ongoing since the end of the season, and we're going to continue to work with our players that we have control with until July 1st to see which ones of those, the players that were here that are free were players that played very good roles for a hockey team. If you look at Fabro and Provolov, right? Speaking of those 2 guys, so you can look at that free agent market and say, okay, who's going to do a better job for us? So, our first goal is to make sure we, try to follow up as much as we can with those 2 particular defensemen to see if we could bring one or both of them back.
Next, we'll go to Aaron Portzline. Go ahead, Porty.
Thanks, Todd. Don, the way that this weekend has gone, with you using the 1st round draft picks on players, and with you sort of everyone realizing the scarcity of players that may be available, have you changed your outlook on what you may be able to get done this summer?
Well, I mean, I think we've already accomplished some things. Making the trade yesterday, we've been looking for that right-hand shot center or slash right wing or right winger, whatever coach decides to put him in. So, and then Miles Woods brings us a lot of energy, which we really felt. There's a difference between toughness and energy, and energy to forecheck and all that. We think Miles provides that. So I think we've already accomplished some things that we set out to do. Is there more we'd like to? Of course, but the way it's we're obviously we got to continue to work on our defense, but I think up front, I truly look at and think we're a better team up front right now than we were last year. That's nothing against the players that were here last year. Just the the skill level and what these players bring that we've brought in, I think are going to serve us very well in the future.
And do you feel like these next few days could be adventurous, or do you feel like you know what these days are going to be like here?
No, I think I know how they're going to go. When you've been doing it for so long, I think you know how it's going to go. I've said, we're doing everything possible to make our team better, but we also got to keep in mind the future. My job, the coach's job is to win today and win every night. Certainly, I want to win tonight and every night, but I also have to put the long plan future in front of us because we can't put ourselves in a situation that we can hurt ourselves. Particularly, we got so many young players I've talked about that we have to sign in the next 2 or 3 years. So, you always have to have a plan in place. Our goal is to be the best team we can be this year, but also be able to keep that going forward.
Yeah. You have a pretty good read on what the trade market is, I'm guessing, with all the conversations you've had. Do you feel more a bigger sense now that you need to be even more active free agent wise, or you dial back on that?
No, I don't think I mean, I feel pretty good about our forwards, as I said. So, we're going to explore this next few days to see stay on top of the D market. It's no secret. Everybody looks at the same list that we're looking at, and with all the free agents out there, particularly in defense, and it's not like a plethora of players. There's a lot of players, but not a lot of top players. So,
Yeah.
but my job as the general manager is to make sure I stay in touch with the people that are part of the process here. And come July 1st, if we have needs, we will certainly go out and try to address them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff Swoboda. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Todd. Don, I just wanted to ask one more question about the draft and the two forwards that you took. You look at their numbers and their production, and you probably think those guys may have been higher up in the draft, but maybe the answer to that question is size or lack thereof. Obviously, you've drafted a bunch of big guys the last couple of years. When you're looking at maybe smaller players in general, especially those forwards, is there anything that stands out about that type of player, or something those types of players have to have for you guys to target them in the draft?
Oh, 100%. They have to have if you're on the smaller size, 5'10" and that, you got to have hockey sense, number one. You got to be able to, you look around the NHL right now, how many 5'10" players have success, and they're all players that are very smart players. We talk about this all the time. So 5'10", 5'8", 5'9", anybody can play in this league, but it comes down to what kind of hockey sense you have. And both these players obviously have had great seasons and put up a lot of points, but they haven't done it because of lacking the hockey sense. So hockey sense, number one. There's other things, getting stronger. We don't know if they're 18. They may get taller. They may not. They can get stronger and continue to work on their body. But skating can be taught, get better. Skating is pretty good. But the number one thing I always say is the hockey sense. You either have the toolbox or you don't, and both these guys certainly have it.
Lastly, we'll go back to Aaron Porter's line. Go ahead, Porter.
Yeah, Don, the commissioner has said that UGMs voted 26-6 to try this decentralized. Can you say, obviously a lot of people felt it was a good idea. Can you say how you voted then and how you may vote now, if that's any different?
Yeah, I'm not embarrassed about how I voted. If you remember, so just give me a second to take you back. Last year, we were in Vegas on a Saturday for the draft, and free agency started on Monday, and we had to get back, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. And the preparation was a little tight. You have time at the draft to talk to people, but you're still focused for the draft. The year before, it was the same situation. It was in Nashville. But if you were there, you probably remember they had terrible storms. Most people got stuck there overnight. And so everybody was scrambling that last day before free agency. And so that's what was on everybody's mind. I voted to go decentralized. I was one of the 26 people. And then, as we got to the GM meetings this year in March, it was a nice conversation that we had. And I think if we took a straw vote, but you didn't take a regular vote, I think it would have flipped almost completely opposite. And we also all looked at the calendar too. Next year, I think the draft's the 26th, 27th of June. So then you still have, travel back and still have 3 or 4 days before free agency. And I think that plays a factor in everybody's mind about having a draft in person or decentralized.
Yeah, yeah. And just to be clear, you would vote back to the old style if you had to
Correct.
vote again? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
No, you're welcome.